I am joined by Faz from Crytek. Hey man, how you doing?
I'm good, I'm very good.
Great to have you here. So you're going to show us a brand new Homefront game. Tell me a bit about it.
Yeah, so this is Homefront the Revolution. This is our take on what the original Homefront did. And we are really happy to bring a demo here with us, which we're going to showcase right now.
So we have like a big chunk of a live demo here. So tell you what, let's just go straight to that.
Sounds good.
And then you can like talk over and I can ask you questions and we'll just get to dig into it.
Yeah,
so,
sounds good.
I'm right thinking this is based in America and Korea. This kind of larger Korea state has invaded. That was the premise of the first game, right?
Yeah. So the first game, the Koreans had invaded from the West Coast. So in Homefront the Revolution, we find ourselves 4 years into this occupation. So it's a mature occupation. The Koreans are ruling with an iron fist, and they've set up their capital in Philadelphia, and that is where Homefront the Revolution is based.
Okay.
So right now we find ourselves in a resistance safe house, and this is actually a Molotov factory where they're actually making Molotovs. They don't have the same equipment and tech as the KPA, the Korean People Army, does. So they have to build and create their own weapons and equipment from the world and all the stuff that they scavenge from it.
So straight off, it looks pretty gorgeous. So is this CryEngine then?
Yes.
Which iteration is this?
It's CryEngine. We don't have iteration. It's the latest iteration.
It's the latest
now.
one?
Yeah,
okay.
we have our R&D team in our studio, which is very handy because they're an awesome bunch of guys and they give us the opportunity to make all of this lovely stuff. So right now we're taking up the action. We've just been called out on a mission against the KPA. As you can see, this is our take on Philadelphia. This is a heavily oppressed, highly policed environment. The KPA are ruling with an iron fist, and the population is not very happy.
Yeah, that guy's got his own way of protesting.
Yeah, he's about to get taken out. There you go.
Oh wow, yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting stuff in the environment, and like I said, right now you've just been called out to a mission with some friends to go take out a police station that the KPA
I can see some of your
occupying.
friends like scampering across the roof there.
Yeah,
okay,
so those are some of your resistance buddies. Obviously, they don't have the same equipment and stuff as the KPA, so they're trying to use height, use all of the cool stuff at their disposal to hit the enemy when they least expect it, and then melt back into the population.
So how does the kind of combat scenarios work? I see we're doing a bit of surveillance here with our phones and everything. Is it a type of game, almost like, in some ways, I guess, like Crisis, where you see your encounters ahead of you and you get to assess and plan and then attack? Is it that kind of idea?
Absolutely. So with Homefront, we wanted to kind of roll things back to our heritage and that DNA that we have at Crytek, which was that Far Cry Crisis approach where we have these free roam environments where we release the player into, and they can tackle a scenario however they choose to. We don't want to hold their hand through any of it. We want to give them the freedom to explore and approach all of these scenarios their own way. And that's exactly what's happening right now as well. So we just used the smartphone to scope out what's going on in this area. We found this guy, going to take him out. And we also just found out a resistance stash. So the world is full of hobo symbols, which you can probably see up on the wall.
Oh yeah.
These are, if the player keeps a lookout for these are basically there to guide the player to secret stashes of weapons, points of interest. Obviously the resistance can't go head-to-head with the KPA, so they have these hidden away places that the player can go and interact with and get these cool items from.
So I mean, the kind of universe is set and it's quite high-tech, right? I saw the Koreans had these kind of drones and everything.
Yes, yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, is it quite a tech-heavy enemy we have here?
Yeah, so the KPA have a lot of cool, superior technology, and they are using drones extensively. They've got a whole bunch of different types of drones that they're using to oppress and keep an eye on the population of Philadelphia. But the idea is that you as a guerrilla fighter, you as being part of the resistance, do not have access to the same level of equipment as these guys do. So you have to scavenge in the world, use the environment around you to build your own weapons, build your own equipment. Like I've just said, this is a resistance stash, so we're going to scope this space out, see if we can find anything that's handy.
Okay.
And so there you go. You found that. Now we're going to head in there, try to pick up some things that we could utilize. That's one of the things that we really wanted to push for, give the player the control to use the environment around them and create the weapons that they want to create. We're not forcing them to use any of the weapons. We're not forcing them to go a specific way. It's up to them what they find in the world, what they want to create with it.
For example, you might want to put a lump of plastic explosive on an RC car, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's one of the things that you can do.
There is weapon crafting then in the
that's
game.
That's it.
Right?
There's a lot of weapon crafting, and it's all up to the player what they want to do. You can create a whole bunch of things. You can combine a whole bunch of things. We've just found some cool stuff right now. We're going to utilize that stuff in a little while. Yeah, so there's plenty of that stuff. Apart from that, we've got loads of customization options, which is something that we love to do at Crytek. We love our weapon customizations, and as you can see, we've got plenty of weapon customizations.
It's all very familiar to Crysis, same setup, right?
Yeah, it's the same DNA. So we wanted to bring a lot of the cool stuff that we know that we have available to us and we've used before. We wanted to bring that into this, and we wanted to give the freedom to the player to make these weapons what they want them to be, because every player has their own style of playing. Every player has their own preferences. So we didn't want to restrict anyone. We want to give the freedom to them and allow them to approach every scenario however they want to.
So who are we then? Who's this character? Are we just an everyday guy? Are we like ex-military? Like what's the story?
So the idea is in the story you are playing as a guy called Ethan Brady. He's an everyday guy. He's an oppressed U.S. citizen. The idea is the player is joining him on a journey from being that oppressed citizen, but on a journey to becoming a resistance fighter who in turn is trying to ignite a revolution. So I can't go too much into the story details, but there's a lot of cool stuff in there, and this guy doesn't have any military training. We wanna try and get it across that all of the stuff that these guys are doing, they have to utilize guerrilla tactics. They can't just go gung-ho straight into combat against the KPA because they will get gunned down.
Because that was something that kind of I always thought jarred a little bit in the previous game, was the fact that you were like an everyday resistance guy, but then through the course of the game you would kill like thousands of people.
Yeah.
I mean, is this going to be similar amounts of like carnage, or are all the encounters on a smaller scale?
I mean, well, fictionally, the world is built around these guys being average everyday guys. They're lawyers, accountants, doctors, and they've been forced to take up arms to try and ignite a revolution. As far as I'm concerned, this guy, you will be able to fire guns. It's not like we're going to force you not to fire a gun. You're going to have fun. You still will have fun. But we want to give the control to the player. And we want to encourage them to play like a guerrilla fighter. We want to encourage them to use the equipment around them, as you are right now. Some of the cool things that you picked up earlier, that's what you're going to use right now. We've got this RC car. We're going to drop it down. We're going to build some explosives, combine that in this. This is all part of being a guerrilla fighter. You could have, if you wanted to, run straight into this situation, all guns blazing. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not saying that that's a bad thing to do, but it's definitely not the smartest thing to do. This is just one scenario, one way of approaching this mission. You could have sat back and maybe used a sniper rifle to pick people off.
Watch the guard. Yeah.
There are these cool gadgets that you can mess around with, but like I said, being a resistance fighter, being a guerrilla fighter is what we're trying to aim for, and we want the player to go on their own.
Very smart, hiding it under the car, very good. Because I guess this drone could be spotted, right?
Yes, if you didn't have this cover over you, you would be spotted. So we're utilizing what's going on, and we're just driving this RC car up to this door, which will help us breach the police station. So now that he set that up, he just has to make a call, and all guns.
Everyone's gonna go off. Come on.
There we go. So now he's done it. So all hell should break loose now.
Getting some proper combat. All right, so we've got like some classic cover mechanics.
Yeah, so we've got cover mechanics. As you can see, we've got shooting over the top. We wanted the gunplay to feel like you are a resistance fighter. So we've got all of this hiding behind cover, shooting without looking. You're going to utilize things like Molotovs. There's a lot of cool stuff, and again, this is one of them. And the KPA we've got a whole bunch of different KPA. So there's a heavy who's going to show up any second now.
So what system are we playing this on now? Is this a PC build? Is this PS4?
Yes, so this is currently a PC build. We're focusing on next gen as well. So this is PC and next gen, which as a developer was fantastic because it allowed us to utilize the power that's available from those systems and not have to worry about the quality difference. Because the CryEngine for us is a massive tool that gives us the flexibility to translate our game onto all of these platforms and get the best out of each and every one of them.
Yeah.
So the CryEngine is a fantastic aid, and it helps us get the best out of each and every platform we develop on.
So this looks like quite a big area. How is the world set up? Is it in different sections of the city that you travel to through loading zones, or how does it all fit together?
Yeah, so right now what we were just playing in is a yellow zone. We've broken Philadelphia down. Fictionally, Philadelphia has been broken down into zones.
Right, okay.
The KPA have set up these zones to basically make it easier for them to control the population. So we have yellow zones, which is what we were just playing in, and this is basically a ghetto. They have several of these ghettos split out all over Philadelphia. This allows them to concentrate the population into one zone and then keep an eye on them. So if anyone steps out of line, they can deal with that problem straight away. Each of these zones has its own character, its own feel. We've just come into the red zone right now, which is more of a bombed out, neglected kind of place. It's a lot more expansive. As you can see, there's a lot of burnt out row houses. It's very expansive. And then we've got a green zone, which we're not showing right now, but that is more of where you'll see Philadelphia, the landmarks that people are familiar with. So yeah, each of these zones has its own feel, and it's a very expansive Philadelphia. So for us, we're really excited by the scale at which we're operating at in this game. We're pushing the CryEngine to its limits as well. And yeah, this is one of the biggest worlds we built at Crytek, so we're very excited about it.
Cool. And how do you travel between these zones? Is it going to be like dictated by the path of the story, or is it going to be a situation where you can jump to different zones?
Sure.
So you want?
Yeah, so we have story missions that push the story forward. That's basically the backbone of this game, and then we have this world built around it. As the player starts off in the world, they'll have a small section of Philadelphia available to them. But the more they play, they'll unlock more and more spaces, and then they can seamlessly jump back and forth within all of the spaces.
Oh, cool. So once you've been to an area, you can then revisit and
absolutely, because we've got a whole bunch of content split all over Philadelphia, cut across all of these different zones. So there's plenty for the player to explore and do in this world. So
and if you are a resident of Philadelphia or familiar, I mean, are you going to see landmarks that have been like destroyed partly, or?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're not doing like a Google Maps of Philadelphia, but we do have those landmarks.
Yeah.
Anyone who's familiar with Philadelphia will recognize those landmarks, but it'll feel familiar, but it'll feel alien at the same time, because it is Philadelphia, but it has this KPA augmentation on it.
So what made you choose Philadelphia, actually? Because it's not really your quintessential setting for a video game, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like when we were thinking about this game, we could have based it anywhere.
Yeah.
We wanted to go with Philadelphia because there's a lot of symbolic significance of Philadelphia. It's the birthplace of U.S. independence.
Oh yeah, of course.
To this day, it has a lot of iconic buildings built around independence. It's home to the Liberty Bell, Independence Hall. So the KPA setting up their capital in Philadelphia is kind of a significant statement of intent, which shows the power shift with the U.S. Being a fallen power now, and the KPA and Koreans rising up. So that was one of the main reasons from a fictional point of view.
So is this game, we obviously saw some single-player work there. Is it a co-op game, though? Is that?
Yes, so we have a separate co-op mode.
Right, okay.
It's based in the same world, so you'll have access to all of the same spaces in the city, all of Philadelphia. But you can roam the world with a bunch of buddies, so it's 4-player co-op.
Right.
And yeah, the whole world is open to you. You and your friends can get together and do a lot of guerrilla missions. And for what we just showed as well, it was an example of what players can do. That was an example of some co-op missions. Your buddies can get together, help you out in a mission. You can roam the world separately if you want to. It's one big living, breathing world. So everyone who is in it influences one another's game. So yeah, it's really exciting and it's good fun.
Brilliant. Well, Faz, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
It was great to see Homefront. Do you have any idea when we might be able to get our hands on it? When's the release date?
Yeah, so we'll be releasing in 2015 on PC, Xbox One, PS4, Macs, and Linux. Yeah, so keep a lookout.
So another 2015. Have to wait till then to find out the Korean invasion. But for the